Hey guys, it's Mitch. How's it going? We're coming back around again for another team up revisit. I brought Jay back for this one. You feel free to say hi to everybody if you like, Jay.
How's it going?
Hey, and today we're going to do one of the best comics of the early '90s. This is going to be the Batman Judge Dredd team up, Judgment on Gotham, by Alan Grant and John Wagner and Simon Bisley. So, all right. Do you have any specific memories about this comic, I guess, when you first got it or anything like that?
No, I think I just got it because I really liked Simon Bisley's art. It's
So you were
interesting.
already on the Bisley train.
I was on the train. It's interesting. It's interesting to hear you say like it was one of the best comics of the era because I haven't read this thing in 30 years.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the primary reason I bought it was just to look at like some really cool like paintings.
Yeah.
But in rereading it this past week, I actually thought this is a pretty good comic.
I mean, the actual story is it's a little standard, I guess. It doesn't go too far out there.
It
But
doesn't
like
go too far. Like it sort of makes room for the art, right?
yeah, well, that's the thing. It's not going to go crazy with anything. It doesn't try to make them buddies, Batman and Judge Dredd. So that's something that's nice. They stay antagonistic towards each other for the whole thing. And it's kind of a basic we got to catch the criminal guy, and or together kind of thing. But it's a kind of framework that's pretty solid, and they don't fuck it up basically. And then Simon Bisley comes in and he just kind of makes everything look incredible.
Yeah, and it's also it's quite funny at times. Like I didn't remember.
Oh yeah.
I didn't remember any of that, and
So it must have been a while since you read it last then.
it's been a long time, and
Yeah.
I think I always loved the comic because I just sort of drooled over the pictures, really.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't think it's particularly known for its story. I think there was a kayfabe episode where they did this, and I think it might have been Jim Rugg who said something like, it's kind of a slight story. I thought it was I thought it was very solid and it's sort of devoid of cheesy moments, lots of fun little quips. And
I think it's an important element that Batman gets treated seriously.
Yeah.
Like everything else, pretty much everything else in this is a joke to some degree or another, but Batman kind of stays like a straight man throughout the entire thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Which actually makes it funnier in a way.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. I saw people online complaining because I decided to go online and check out what people thought of this book. For one thing, I found like surprisingly few, like just discussions about it. I feel like not a lot of people know about this comic. Which is strange to me. But most of them thought it was pretty great. But maybe some of them were saying like a little short, like they had to go too fast, which I don't think I really agree with.
Yeah,
I think it's paced pretty well. And apparently, when this came out, this is a 1991 book. It didn't have a whole lot of buzz over here, but it created a huge amount of buzz in the UK, where I don't know, there was some kind of signing or something where people were lined up around the block, and it was like blowing people's minds. It was like more people showed up for this comic to get signed than for a signing that David Bowie had a while earlier.
That's pretty cool. Only in the early 90s, eh?
Yeah, and I mean, and that was specifically for Simon Bisley, from what I understand.
Oh, that's so interesting. There was a funny story. I was reading about how or I heard somewhere about how Peach Momoko, when she did her first US signing, there were like fights in the line.
Oh yeah.
Among store owners. Like it was her first like American convention.
Mm-hmm.
And store owners were fighting to get her like autograph.
Yeah.
And she had to shut down like the autograph line. I think it was also like maybe the first big con post COVID, so maybe that played into it. But like
everybody was a little bit more on edge. Yeah.
Well, it's just cool to hear about people lining up for a Bisley signing like it's a rock
Oh yeah. Star. Well, I mean, yeah, that was the time for comic guys to be rock stars, right? Was the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it didn't make as much of a fuss over here because nobody really knew who Bisley was. I don't think he'd done much here apart from the Lobo miniseries. And I think that did pretty well, but it's still just a limited kind of exposure.
Yeah, and also I think the guys writing this are like they're from the UK as well. Like one of them's the creator of Judge Dredd. No,
John Wagner is the co-creator of Judge Dredd. He co-created it with Carlos Escara,
so
and
it's a UK production more or
oh, for
less.
sure. And I think that, and and Alan Grant is also he's I think he's the guy who wrote most of Judge Dredd after John Wagner and Carlos Escara created it. And both of them have both written a significant amount of Batman comics, actually. So they were, it is a bit of a, you gotta put yourself out there a little bit, but they were both natural choices, I think, to write this thing. So why don't we get to the cover on this thing? We should do the whole cover, actually, if I can do it without bending it too much, because as a piece, this is like just some excellent shit.
Oh yeah, amazing.
Yeah, I love I like how dynamic the shot here is of Judge Dredd, and yeah, Batman. You don't even get his face, just swooping in, and that's just fantastic shit. And the important thing to remember is that this is pre-Alex Ross, so there is not much in the way of painted comics when this is coming out. Like there's the Dave McKean Arkham Asylum and Bill Sienkiewicz on Elektra Assassin, and that's kind of it, really.
And he's certainly an influence on Bisley's style.
Which Bill Sienkiewicz?
Sienkiewicz, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess so. Definitely, yeah, some parts. The most obvious influence for Bisley is Frazetta.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
He does have that abstract kind of feeling that Bill Sienkiewicz, is kind of the authority on, really.
Yeah, and when you get into I forget her name. She's the sort of Judge Dredd's sort of
Anderson.
The telepathic sidekick. Some of the shots of her, like, they remind me almost of like New Mutants era.
Oh yeah.
Sienkiewicz.
Yeah. And it's, I don't know. I feel like it's important to remember just how little painted stuff was out there at the time. Like painted covers, yeah, you got to see some every once in a while. Not like a painted interior like this, though. And it was, I remember this just being like super special. And like, I don't know. It seemed like incredible that there could be a comic with art this good to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I had my guys, like Jim Lee and all that, who I would have said was the best, and then you see this, and it's just like, okay, but that's like an outlier, that doesn't exactly count.
Yeah, it's interesting because like the Image guys were all, who were, this is 91, I think this comes out, so it's just on the eve, I guess, of the big migration, and this is an era that's all about art and the artist. But when I was reading this week, I thought, man, this is like the ape. This is surely like an apex of that whole moment, and I'd almost sort of forgotten about this comic in a way. But it's like it's kind of what you wish more of those Image books had been. Like, simple, solid story that gives the artist just enough runway, right?
Yeah.
And yet what we got from most Image books was like a laughable story and a lot of artists who were like almost immediately like in like the twilight of their best years. Like they just were sort of phoning it. A lot of them were just starting to phone it in.
Or guys who were just coming up and being subbed in for the best theoretical talents in the world, right?
Yeah, there was a total bait and switch, but I read this week and I'm like, man, this is almost like what that era promised in a way, and almost never produced.
Yeah, this is like actually living up to the hype. And if there had been hype.
Because every there's like tons of splash pages. There's a great anchor image. It's got all that.
Yeah.
It's got those principles that sort of energized a lot of the Image books, but it just again, like solid story, a sense of humor, which none of those books had,
No.
and again, and total mastery of the medium on Bisley's part.
Yeah, no, I gotta agree with that. So, okay, so we should get to the story on this. The story, basically, the conceit is that Judge Death, who is the first, I think, real villain to show up in the Judge Dredd comics, him and his, I don't remember what they're called, but it's kind of a four horsemen kind of thing. So there's four evil judges, and Death has stolen a teleporter belt, and he's transported to our world, and he's basically the plan is to kill everybody on the planet. And he starts out really, like abstractly with the weird fade from the Batman symbol into the young lovers kissing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's and then we just get our POV shot of Judge Death here creeping up on him. It's a weird choice for how to open this thing.
Yeah, it's arresting though.
Yeah, no, it's kind of horror movie-ish in some ways. Yeah.
And I love the hands, those hands, which are they're just like little ball joints and tendons.
Yeah, it's just little bundles of knuckles.
Oh, it makes you want to draw when you see that. You're like, I just want to draw like knobby muscle bits or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in this comic, just to in some manner or another. Like the next page here, we get Judge Death killing off the young lovers, and so we're gonna cut to Batman with the Batmobile, which is probably one of the best versions of the Batmobile you're ever going to see. It's the souped up 1989 movie Batmobile.
Oh yeah, totally. With like a little bit of, I don't know, H.R. Geiger sort of in the DNA.
A little bit, yeah.
It's almost alive, right?
Yeah, and this is kind of emblematic, I think, of what Bisley's going to do for this, which is that he's not going to try and go realistic on a lot of stuff. Everything gets kind of supercharged, and larger than life, which I love for this kind of book. I like how we've gotten a couple of panels here of the young lovers screaming, but we have to establish the big moody shot of Batman here first. So it does give a little bit the impression that it's like, okay, give it a second, react. All right. But we do get a few splashes throughout this of just a big hero shot of one of the protagonists.
Oh, it's so good. Do you think McFarlane was looking at some of the capes in this?
In 91, probably not, because he'd already done his own Batman by that point, right?
Yeah, I'm looking at those, like, it's amazing how he's got the bulbous modeled muscles set against that like almost that right angle shoulder.
Yeah, I saw a thing that compared it more a bit to Kelly Jones.
Yeah, I can see that.
Batman, where you get the he's insanely muscled, and you get all the swirling everywhere at all times. Like, yeah, this just looks. I love the cape here, and you get this throughout, where the cape is just always in motion. Yeah, no, it's gorgeous stuff. And I mean, this should be a poster somewhere.
And there's also the thing I love about Bisley's like work in paint is I love that little, you see it everywhere, that little tiny white dot of light.
The little highlights, yeah.
That he'll put, he just applies it just to each little rounded knob of bone or muscle or and just really, as you say, like heightening the physicality of everything.
Yeah, that feels like something he got from that's part of his Frazetta background.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. I haven't seen some Frazetta in a while, but that feels like it's part of that whole thing.
But he takes it to such a but he's so much more cartoony in a way than Frazetta, and so it's this. It's Frazetta was definitely going for like a tactile, like a real 3D physicality. Yeah.
Bisley's more like trying to make cartoons real. It feels like.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things I love about. You don't quite get that effect as much when you see Bisley's like non-painted work, although I like his non-painted work. But here you get that like the crazy rendering and texture.
Yeah.
The hyper reality set against these almost like, I don't know, they're so cartoony at times.
Yeah. No, one of the interesting things about having this channel is I get people either correcting me or, just kind of filling me in on little bits of information that I, wouldn't even occur to me to know where to find. Apparently Bisley has said in interviews when he's doing pen and ink stuff, he's not interested. Like he just kind of tries to get through it. Like sometimes he has some fun with it, where he's making he's making like crazy shapes and everything. But he does not get the kind of invested that he does when he's painting.
Yeah, I can see that.
Absolutely. And this one he's in like top form. So, okay, the cops show up in their roadster with their giant cable guns. And they try to take shots at Death. Death doesn't, Death is already dead. So it doesn't, you can take shots at him all day. It doesn't matter. And we get a lot of this here throughout when Death is going to kill somebody, where he just kind of slides his claws through their skin. I remember that kind of blowing me away when I was a kid, because it just, I don't know. You can't do that in black and white, I think. Not that smoothly.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. And it like I said, it's going to happen a few times in here where he just kind of, it's like he's partially incorporeal, but it could also be just the sharpness of his claws. It's good stuff. And Batman comes in, doesn't bother waiting for him to reach out and touch him, so he's just going to boot him to the ground, and flips him onto some grates, and we get some like classic Batman morality, where he's like, I didn't mean to kill it. It's like, well, it had already killed like 3 people at that point, including a police officer. But that's like late 80s, the leftover of 70s, 80s Batman is just like, he hates killing things.
I love, by the way, just the length of the
ears,
on the metal, and just that how half the face is just in shadow. It's such a good panel.
Yeah, no, he really knows where to like place the camera to get like a really nice looking shot. And okay, so Judge Death breaks free. Obviously, getting impaled on the fence here isn't going to kill him, but he does get doused in gas, and set on fire, and that kind of takes care of his corporeal body anyway. And this is a cool shot here with the body burning up and turning into bone, and the spirit flying out of it. Again, something you can't really accomplish in a black and white image, or at least not very easily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the body leaves behind a trans-dimensional belt, and which Batman picks up and investigates, and immediately teleports him to Mega City 1, which is fucking wild looking.
That's very cool.
Yeah. It looks a little bit like something out of Ronin.
Yeah, but like cut with some mushrooms or hallucinogenics. It's also like interesting to look at this background and keep an eye on some of the backgrounds as we go, just because Bisley just does not have much interest in perspective, right? He's just he fakes it all. It works perfectly.
Yeah. Well, everything else is is a giant cartoon, so why not the backgrounds be a little off too? Yeah.
And honestly, something because I've been as I've been working on my own strip, I've been trying to like be I've been trying to be good and rule out some perspective grids and try to do things properly. And I don't know, like you sort of then you hit some of these backgrounds and they have a lot of energy and quirkiness. And
it depends on what you're trying to accomplish, right? I mean, I think sometimes you got to do perspective if you're going for drama. Otherwise, your lack of perspective undercuts like what you're trying to go for. When you're going with an LSD trip cartoon like this, you can kind of do whatever you want, and as long as you do it like convincingly enough, then you can get away with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I like the arm in the bottom left corner, where he's you see the side, the profile on the second page there.
This here,
and it's like I like see those little pock marks in the metal that I am obsessed with those.
That's like the classic Bisley thing.
Oh, he loves it, right? So
yeah,
the light source is above, and it's hitting like the lower crescent of the pockmark, and
Yeah.
then the upper half is black. I see that, and it just makes the whole surface come alive.
Okay, so yeah, we've got the Mean Machine here, who's just he's a standard villain for Judge Dredd, from what I understand. Pretty much everything I know about the Mean Machine I got from the Sylvester Stallone movie and this book.
He's very funny though in this book.
Yeah, I know, I like him a lot. And he's just he headbutts first and then asks questions later. Okay, yeah, so he's looking for Judge Death. The whole deal was Death would steal the teleporter belt, and then they'd meet up again, and they go teleport somewhere and take it over. But Death, of course, didn't bother waiting for Mean Machine. So Mean Machine's trying to get it off of Batman. Batman, of course, doesn't comply, and so he goes into a budding frenzy, which Batman easily dodges and then just kind of leaves.
Like he's like, gimme.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is, you get the impression this is most of the residents of Mega City 1. This would kind of be, would have like similar attitudes, really.
It's very funny. It's very fun too, like when you see him saying gimme and you see his little hook arm repeated 3 times.
Yeah.
Like that's what you just don't think you're going to see that in like a painted comic.
No, painting's too serious for that kind of thing.
It's too serious, right? And like that's sort of what I love about Bisley. As much as I love, early Alex Ross, like Marvel's,
yeah,
it's a little stiff, right?
Very po-faced.
And so it's just like no, he's gonna paint that like arm 4 times like it's like a Looney Tunes.
Yeah, it's an animation kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or like this shot here where he headbutts towards him and he zooms into it, like he gets all stretched out, like because it's a cartoon. And again, that's the kind of thing that we're going to see a little bit of here and there. Yeah, he's got some really interesting techniques that he puts into use here.
And he brings in some outlines too, right? Like it's not pure, like there's a mix of things happening, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, there are some parts that it is almost like just like pen and ink, like almost like ballpoint pen and ink, it feels like.
Like really scratchy.
Yeah.
What do you look at that Batman arm? Look at the veins on that.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
Don't you want to just go draw like an arm?
I always want to draw an arm with a bunch of veins all over it, but yeah.
Of course you do.
So, okay. Mean Machine again lunges to headbutt Batman and goes past him like off a cliff. Batman has to save him because, of course, he does. He's Batman. And the two of them kind of wrestling it out, get the attention of Judge Dredd here. And I think Bisley does a pretty quintessential kind of Judge Dredd. Like this is, a beefier version of the Brian Boland one, basically.
I like the little ping where the line cuts, where you see the line break.
In here?
Yeah,
the gutters.
Just that bottom. No, that bottom panel where it says.
Oh, this one.
Yeah, and it's like reminds me a bit of Ralph Steadman, who I think I mentioned when we were talking about the Max point. This is very much like the Ralph Steadman aesthetic with this like fine, like this almost comically fine like pen line mixed with the spatter paint. Like I love that little line that Batman has. It's just so it's just so fun. Like it's not a realistic it's just a pen line.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and a bit more of that where they just kind of keep reminding you that we're not trying to be realistic or anything, just with the sound effects which are very comic booky. Like these look like something out of Dark Knight, the blam blam blams.
Oh, completely. But look at the little white gleam on each tooth of the zipper going down the front. And then next to it, there's the little dots on the wrinkles in the leather. Like it's just like that level of mania of rendering set against the like scratchy comic book. It's genius.
Yeah, no, there is a level of care here that is because there's, I don't know, you might be tempted to think that there's parts of this that look like they're kind of like I don't know. He's having too much fun to really be thinking about it too much. But
Yeah,
when you really look at it, it's like, oh no. There's a lot going into these pages.
but then look at that panel of Batman where it says whack. Like that
That
looks
one here,
almost,
yeah,
yeah, it's almost just like flat. It's flat, almost like flat color, like comic
yeah.
book. Like it's
No, and it looks like a pen and ink drawing. Yeah, right.
totally. But that tension,
And
is what's so cool in this. Like that he's, you just it's something like Alex Ross. You just wouldn't really see much of in an Alex Ross comic, like that
not at
playful.
all. No. It's all got to look like a photograph, or as much like a photograph as possible. Yeah, and that does get it gets to the point where it gets a little old from time to time. You always kind of know what you're going to get. I don't think anybody ever said that about Simon Bisley, really.
No.
Yeah. But anyway, so Mean Machine is able to grab the belt and teleport out. And we get this cool teleporting effect. There's all sorts of crazy shit going on in here with like these red pen lines or whatever they are.
Yeah.
And it getting like the shape it kind of folds into, like it looks like a weird AI drawing. And so Judge Dredd is without his perp, but he still has Batman at least. And he's gives him the cuffs to put on. He's like, well, I'll go with you, but I'm not wearing the cuffs. And he's like, okay, well then, we weren't having a discussion, and knocks him out, puts the cuffs on him, unmasks him right away. Which feels like a bit of a no-no, but it's another world. It's not like word is going to get out.
It was almost sacrilege. Like it was almost shocking when I read that panel because I'm like, oh, like that's all you have to do.
Yeah, just crack him on the chin hard enough.
Yeah, and just take the mask off. Like, how did people miss this for like 1,000 issues of Detective Comics?
And so, okay, back in Gotham, yeah, the cops are. This is after the whole thing with Judge Death. I take it his corpse has been carted away, and that's it there. I guess that's probably it there. And Mean Machine teleports in again. A really cool effect with like the multiple heads, of just him like, I don't know, just jostling into this reality or something.
Bok. I love the sound effect for the headbutting.
Yeah, I get the feeling that's a distinctly British sound effect.
It's always Bok, and whenever he attacks someone.
Is it too? Okay, I didn't even notice.
Yeah, it just got to the point where I was just like, oh, it's another Bok. Great.
And back in Mega City. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, man.
I was gonna say I like that cityscape.
Yeah, it's a nice one.
But again, that little highlight of white everywhere. It's like there's a way in which the texture of reality in a Simon Bisley comic is like bulbous, shining, like bursting,
polished,
literally bursting at the seams. Like every available light hitting like the tip of everything. It's so over the top, but you have to love it.
Yeah, and
almost like a sexual energy to the way to everything,
Yeah, the curves kind of are very soft. Yeah, which I mean we are turning now to Anderson. Maybe that's the point there.
Yeah.
And okay, so Anderson is Judge Dredd's partner, of course, the telepath. Interesting thing here where apparently when Brian Boland drew her, she usually looked like kind of a Debbie Harry kind of chic character. And he pointed out how in this she looks more like Jack Tori Amos. And it's like, yeah, no, that's about right.
Yeah, that's about right, yeah.
So, all right, she's going to go down to the station because Judge Dredd has Batman in for questioning. Again, these, this blue line pen stuff, I guess that feels like it's been water stained.
Mm-hmm.
Like these feel like actual model sheets for the character that were damaged. And it's like, we can use those.
Yeah, it's got that it's very hybrid, like this art, like as was like Dave McKean back in the day. Like it just feels like anything goes. Yeah, whatever feels like it would just best serve the image next. Or whatever he thought was a neat idea next, really. Yeah, there's like there's even some pencil charcoal later in this. Yeah. And okay, so Judge Dredd's kind of trying to find out where Judge Death is. Batman obviously doesn't know that.
and he's trying to like plead his innocence. Like, look, I haven't done anything wrong. It's like, look at all this shit you're carrying. What are you talking about? And he's like, you're pulling, what is it? You're carrying enough offensive weapons to pull down 15 years. And, we get the difference between the two kind of justice systems where Batman's like, I can carry that stuff. It's like, not if I don't say you can't. But the point of it is it comes down to that Dredd thinks all this offensive weaponry plus the mask plus, I don't know, the costume means vigilante. And he's not a fan of vigilantes.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's got to go through him or not at all. I love the sides of Batman here straining against his bonds here.
I like the Judge Dredd chin profile, which is a constant.
Yeah, it is taking the Brian Boland thing like one step beyond.
You can tell he loves drawing that chin in profile.
Yeah, and again, no lips. It's just the classic Judge Dredd look. So, okay, Anderson shows up at the station in mid-interrogation, and she's going to do. She's going to take a look in Batman's head to see if Judge Dredd is to see if Judge Death is stowed away first. And while she's in there, she kind of gets this whole crazy fucking abstract landscape of Batman's Gotham, which is just like a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, probably worth a lot of money, this page.
Oh, I would think so.
Probably the only Bisley Penguin you're gonna get.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention the Catwoman, and I can't remember him doing the Joker too often.
See, if you look at the Batman in the bottom left corner where the cape curls up, almost like it just reminds me of this
here.
No, look at the see where Batman in the bottom left corner, see where his I guess it's there too, but it's like the way his cape curls up, it's so it reminds me of when later when McFarlane is doing all kinds of weird shit with Spawn's cape,
Yeah, where it's alive in itself.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Yeah. I don't know, the ability to layer all this stuff over each other but to still make it like, I don't know, it's still recognizable. Mm-hmm. Like you can still pick up, we got the Penguin, we got Catwoman and all that, everything. But you got like the death of his parents mixed in here. There's Robin in that, you got to look for a second sometimes to spot him. But like, I don't know, just the layering in here is really impressive as someone who doesn't really understand how color works.
It's one of the great, maybe it's one of the great retellings of Batman's origin. Maybe after the sequence in Dark Knight with the pearls.
Yeah.
You get it. It's all there.
Yeah.
Some
wild stuff.
He does have a palette that sort of unifies the whole thing. It is very.
There's like a feeling of earth tones through a lot of it.
Yeah, so there's that Frazetta palette, and honestly, it's not. I don't want to imply that the book is dated, but it does have a kind of 80s vibe to it. I know it's 1991, but it has that. It's funny that it's funny that this is coming out in 91 because computer coloring is like right on the horizon,
Yeah.
And this is, in a weird sort of way, it's like the first and last gasp of a kind of tradition, and I think Marvel's is just the exception that proves the rule, right? But man, just imagine a world where you had more of this kind of coloring.
That would have been pretty sweet. Although I will say, the success of Marvel's was so big that we did start to get more and more painted stuff come out as a result of that.
There were the clones, and Bisley had his own clone. What was that guy's name? Glenn.
There's a few actually. There's Glenn Fabry.
Yeah, Glenn Fabry. Yeah.
But I don't know how much of a clone he is. I think that's kind of an accepted style in the UK. There's like 3 or 4 guys who all draw it a similar way. I don't know who copied who, or if they're all just copying Frazetta.
I always got the sense that Fabry was was Sega to Bisley's Nintendo. That he was he was sort of the if you can't hire Bisley, hire this guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we found out about Fabry like, a good 5 or 6 years after probably we found out about Bisley.
Yeah.
So, I mean, naturally he would seem like that guy. I don't know when he would have started in the UK though. So I don't want to. He might have come first for all I know.
I love Anderson's arms where she's got her hands
Yeah.
out like she's casting a spell. Like again, it's just so.
Well, she's got to explain how Judge Death works, right? And obviously, if you're explaining that, you got to make the hand movements.
It's so funny.
Yeah. And she's trying to argue with Judge Dredd about why they got to let Batman here go. And Dredd's not going to budge because Dredd never budges. This is like ultimate Dredd, who just goes by the rule book no matter what. I get the impression that depending on the writer, depending on the situation, sometimes that can be flexible. But of course, this is my and probably a lot of North Americans' first, if that's a term, I suppose, first exposure really to Judge Dredd.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the one that kind of sticks. It's like, no, he always goes hardline on the rule book. And yeah, so Batman, because Judge Dredd is like, yeah, no, we'll send you back. Don't worry. After your sentence is done, and your time is served. And this just enrages him because he thinks this is a perversion of justice, and snaps free of his bonds, and just like the ultimate flexing panels here, and smacks him right in the mouth. And this is actually a reflection of a maybe like one of the most famous shots in Judge Dredd, which is where he's punching Judge Fear in the face, and yelling. Well, because Judge Fear's whole thing is like he scares people to death with his face. Like he opens like this grate open on his helmet, and he's like, gaze into the face of fear, and then Dredd punches through his helmet and yells, gaze into the fist of Dredd. And it's the exact same angle, and it's that flat, like just smack to the jaw kind of thing. And now they get into an all-out brawl. But like, yeah, I love all the musculature in here. There's some made-up shit going on.
Oh yeah.
But it's so fantastic.
It doesn't matter.
It feels so solid and so real.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It makes you think like it's a little bit like the Stephen Platt thing. Like if you commit to the if you commit to your over the top rendering, like it doesn't matter. Like Platt is and Bisley Platt, they're enjoying it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, as long you have to have like just utmost confidence that this is the way. But if you have that, then yeah, you can absolutely pull it off.
I also think like if you don't please yourself, you're not gonna please the reader. And like these guys are just like, this is what like I want. This is what looks cool to me. Like I don't care.
Yeah.
And that sells you as the reader. You're like I think that's what the confidence thing. Like you're just like, oh, like they're imposing their vision of what makes them happy. Like I just want, this is what this is what an arm should look like. And you're like, just like, okay, that's cool. Like I'm with you.
It doesn't hurt that he's right,
Yeah.
Oh. But okay, so yeah, Batman eventually gets subdued by the gathered judges, and they take him away. And from there we cut back to Gotham City Morgue. Okay, so there is a little caption kind of thing here, letting us know the difference. That's good. Okay, so I think we would assume here that we're probably following up with either the murdered lovers or the police guy or the charred body of Judge Death, which we kind of are. But it turns out that we're actually introducing the Scarecrow in this, and this is a different version maybe of the Scarecrow than we would have been privy to before, where he, I don't know, he's got a different look. Like this is a very like horror movie kind of look that he's got here.
Yeah, for sure. It's Bisley's Scarecrow.
For sure. He doesn't. Yeah, I think before this he probably would have just looked like, a scarecrow with hay coming out of him and shit. So he's here to at the morgue to harvest bodies for brain juices so that he can make his fear toxins. And while he's in here, the spirit of Judge Death comes in through a broken window to try and find a body to inhabit. And we got a great moment here where the Scarecrow, kind of stays at a height for a second and then pops in to scare Judge Death, and then counts it as a great triumph that he scared a ghost. I love these. I don't know, the kind of texture he's got going on Judge Death here, where he's and the expression on his face where he's just boo, and the color palette and everything. This is like one of my favorite drawings of Judge Death in this.
Yeah, it's quite good.
Yeah.
I love the little, like, in the panel in the tier below where, like, he's sort of merging with the Scarecrow, and his little body is, his little body trailing behind is this weird furless,
like goblin kind of looking thing, or
but then on the previous page it almost has this like little spermy wormy kind of. It's so, again, it's like that over sexualized kind of energy throughout, but it's just so, everything's so kind of fluid and yet fun though. He's just going for
sure. And again, the melting effect when he merges with Scarecrow's head here.
Yeah,
this is really cool.
It's great. And it's got the little shine.
Yep, of course. And it's just nice seeing this kind of melding without it being done as, like, I don't know, a cheap Photoshop effect, which you could easily see it having been done as in some other book. So anyway, they decide that they're going to team up to, fulfill Judge Death's plan, I guess, to, well, he's going to kill everybody on the planet, but he's going to terrify everybody doing it. So Scarecrow's kind of in. There's an interesting panel with the all the blue up in here.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the sequence where Judge Anderson breaks Batman out of the care of, or the custody of, the other judges. They get on the big Bisley-fied motorcycle here, and they're going to take off for the trans-dimensional lab. And another big, like, poster-sized splash that could have been the cover for this book, but the cover for the book was okay as it was, so it's fine.
I like when Scarecrow's like, how can I refuse my sibilant friend?
Where was that, last page?
No, you're on the page. Just where he's saying, I will show you a veritable feast of all the S sounds, right? And Scarecrow's just kind of like, it's just those little touches of humor that were like, I don't know, they were unthinkable in an Image comic. You would never have had that.
No, not so much. Again, more the British thing, I think.
Totally. I see a lot of Richard Corbin too in some of the muscly figures. I don't know.
I can see it. It's a little tougher because, like, Richard Corbin it feels like he had several different styles over the course of his career, from what I've seen anyway. I'm not I'm not very knowledgeable about Richard Corbin, but I can see bits of it in here and there for sure. And we're going to, flip back and forth here between Scarecrow setting Judge Death up in a new body, which is maybe my favorite sequence in this whole thing, and Batman trying to get to the trans-dimensional lab with Judge Dredd hot on his tail.
Yeah.
And we also, we're cutting to also the Mean Machine looking for information on Judge Death. And he gets information about this band called Living Death, because that's like the closest thing that this particular bar patron can associate it with.
Yeah, that's also funny. Like,
yeah.
And
the funny, maybe the funnier thing is that it works because they all just kind of converge on the concert.
I like when he's like, "What's it to you, anyways?" And he's like, "Well, you were asking."
Oh yeah, I was. Yeah.
And then he's like, "Bach."
Yeah, no, he just gets all wrapped up in being abrasive. Doesn't realize that he was answering the question.
Look at the back. Look at the back of his leg on that last panel. Like, that's like, what is that?
Oh,
that's like, what is just like, I don't know, pile a bunch of muscles on.
Yeah, and that one looks like it's kind of a little carelessly thrown on there, but it's the kind of thing you like confidently kind of careless.
Exactly.
I wish I could get away with that. Yeah. And okay, yeah. So now we got the bit where Judge Death has found a body that he's willing to use. They break it down with some like acid or something so that it's fully putrefied, and then Judge Death inhabits the corpse. And kind of another horror movie shot as it starts to resuscitate here. And the constructing of the Judge Death uniform is, I think, one of the best parts in this. Like this part here, he's fine with because he found Scarecrow's lackey managed to find a dead motorcyclist, so that's all good. You got your motorcycle helmet, put scratches down it. That's the same thing. But the other elements like the badge and the shoulder pad and the pterodactyl, a little bit tougher to come across. So they just kind of have to wing it, really. He's got the hunk of prime rib, or the rack of rib coming out here, and just nailing the chicken to the other shoulder. Can't find a Judge Death appropriate belt, but so the cowboy belt is going to have to be close enough. And just a skull and crossbones with death misspelled across it as his badge.
So
and he's
good.
it's excellent stuff. And another splash page showing a big kind of hero shot of one of our villains. So naturally he kills off the lackey here for fucking up. Again, just kind of reaches in, either because he's partially incorporeal or because his hands are really sharp. And then turns to Scarecrow to do the same, because this was obviously going to happen from the beginning. Only Scarecrow saw it coming too and is able to use his fear spray on Judge Death. And we find out what scares Judge Death, which is all sorts of fluffy bunnies and puppies and like cartoon ducks and basically everything cute in the world.
I like when Scarecrow's like, the double cross. I expected no less from a creature of such exquisite evil. It's just like, honestly, I was reading this. I was thinking a bit about Blood Force because I was like, some of this is, I was thinking about that too, watching some of your Lobo videos, like that Lobo and like the British. That's kind of your space almost, like that humor that like it doesn't go too far, but it just it's just funny, like.
Yeah, no, it's definitely my speed. For sure, yeah, and just where it's riding right up to the edge, where it's being like arch, but it's like the writers are having a good time too, so it's all fine. So I think this is a lot of people's favorite page in this book, the what scares Judge Death page.
But this is, man, it's just like you can tell they're having fun. Like,
oh, for sure.
And, like Mark Silvestri drawing Cyberforce was probably the most miserable human being that ever existed. Like it was just like I just got to get through this shit, and it's just like these like, and this is like a commitment. Like these pages must have taken forever to do. Like
oh, for sure. He's not doing page a day on this.
No,
not even close. Yeah, this would have taken months, I would think, to get done. So Judge Death and Scarecrow agreed to a ceasefire, at least for now. You get the feeling it wouldn't be permanent, but their goals are still aligned, so they agree to keep working together because hey, I'm still evil, you're still evil.
Yeah,
let's just keep it rolling. And Judge Anderson and Batman do make it to the D Lab, the dimensional jump lab, and with DREDD in hot pursuit, but he doesn't get there in time to stop them, so he has to follow them back to Gotham. It does all really work nicely for just following the story beats.
Yeah.
And again, one of those crazy fucking teleports in.
Yeah, they are cool. I like it.
Yeah. And where did they tell? I guess this is back right at the beginning where they started, which is handy because that's where the Batmobile is. Okay. And so as a telepath, there's another one of those teleports in, only with Judge Dredd, and that one's even that's another one that looks like it was done by AI. So with Judge Death, and Anderson the telepath, Batman's asking if she can locate him telepathically. Normally she can't because he's found a way to block her out, but he has no reason to suspect that she's over here, so he doesn't have his guard up. And they're able to track him fairly easily, which is it's believable kind of convenience. I think. And they just happen to pick the Living Death concert to go and make their first strike, which is where, where the Mean Machine's heading. So now that's where Batman and Judge Dredd are also heading. So everyone is going to meet up at the Living Death concert.
Look at the top, the bottom of the page where it shows her, the back of Anderson's head. Look at the top of her hair. Look at the part.
Yeah.
Look at the little dabs of white paint around that. And you can see the dark roots. Like, genius. Like, and then, but her hand has like a little black ink line. Like,
and it's so much
cool.
More of an abstract kind of shape. Yeah.
If you bring, I mean, it's the kind of thing that if you look at it up close, it doesn't make any sense. And it just, man, like
same with Batman's hands here too, where it's just the black outline and then like the impression of the hands underneath.
But the light going around that hair, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's like he picks his thing that he really wants to focus on sometimes.
That's so good.
And the big concert shot for Living Death here, with some just kind of classic, I think, Bisley rocker characters. I get the feeling this is Bisley here holding the sign with the Lobo pin on, maybe.
Oh yeah.
All right, so Judge Death and Scarecrow show up at the concert. Mean Machine is already in attendance. It looks like he's sitting like politely, so that's good for him. And so they try to sneak in, and the security guards try to stop. I like how thick these security guards are too.
Oh, amazing!
Like they're super beefy, but not like Batman beefy. And they do look like they could still mess you up. And of course, Judge Death goes right through them, literally. And okay, the Living Death band come on the stage, and Judge Death is gonna take part in the show. I guess that's kind of the point where he's making a big statement. Try to reach as many people as he can. And he takes out the lead guitarist, shoves his claw right through his brain and takes his guitar and then leaps out on the stage here. And I do love this shot with kind of curved perspective here. And
wasn't Bisley in a metal band or something at one point?
I don't know if he was specifically. I know he did a lot of he did like album covers before he got into comics.
Like this is his wheelhouse, like this.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
he's absolutely a metal guy. And a lot of his later images have also been used for album covers or for magazine covers, that kind of thing. And so Judge Dredd starts just kind of taking over the show, bites the head right off the lead singer here.
Amazing.
Yep. Pop, and just like the eyeball popping out when he crunches down. And does a version of Sympathy for the Devil, which I wouldn't have recognized back in the day because I didn't know enough Stones.
Oh, totally. I was like, oh my God, I know what that is now. I was reading it this week.
Yeah, I can remember like the cadence I had in my head back then. And it's so like goofy and like just kind of like, I don't know, like happy time music.
Mm-hmm.
It's like not even really close to what. Yeah. Oh, there's another Bach. So Mean Machine is in attendance. He's noticed what's been going on the stage. And Batman and Anderson pull up, and Judge Death is already. He's got the party in full swing. This is an awesome shot here. This extreme Dutch angle shot with the head mounted on the microphone and everything.
Oh man, I'm obsessed with that like sunken stomach under that kind of weird knobby rib cage. It's just it's the lighting on that. It's so cool.
That's another Kelly Jones looking rib cage, actually. I can totally see that. Maybe he was influenced by him a little bit, or maybe he's just a Bernie Wrightson fan. Because there's not a lot of differentiation between Kelly Jones and Bernie Wrightson, really. So Mean Machine's trying to make his way up to Judge Death, and it's taken forever when just going at a regular pace. So naturally, has to put the dial on his head up to 3 to get into a budding frenzy, and that gets him up a lot quicker. I love all the bodies flying everywhere.
Yeah.
Security tries to pull Judge Death off the stage, and just boots a guy right through his chest. And the dial on Mean Machine's helmet gets stuck, so he can't stop headbutting at this point, and he's headbutting right through the stage now. And another one of those crazy cartoon kind of panels where he's like morphing into his own head.
Yeah, it's so cool. Smearing the light source.
Yeah, and like it is all still like a solid object with the lighting. It's awesome stuff. I don't even know how you imagine that and then pull it off that well.
Oh, it's so clever how he stretches the eyes into almost like, just to create little almost speed lines, right?
Yeah. No, it's excellent stuff.
He's doing speed lines with paint, with the white paint.
Yeah, kind of sort of like that motion rumbling kind of thing. And then we get he kind of changes everything up with the color palette here. And I think that this is still, I would say, painted, but it does get a much more sketchy look. And I think we're going to get more of this going forward. But first we get our cool shot of Batman showing up and putting the Fear in the Scarecrow here. So this is, I think, maybe splash number 4 that could be used as a poster or cover.
Mm-hmm.
That shot's amazing. With the cape just swirling around behind him.
I just like the glove. I like the glove on Scarecrow stretched across, like all those tendons on Scarecrow's hand.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
That's so cool.
Or like the shine off the symbol here.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. And Anderson incapacitates Scarecrow by shooting the fear gas out of his hands, so he gets it instead. Again, one of those really sketchy panels. And this whole page has elements of that, actually. I don't know what exactly is the decision-making process there, unless it's just he needed to get it done. It works fine. It's just strange to go like, okay, these are the ones where I'm going to do the sketchy panels.
Yeah, it's hard to know.
Yeah.
But to me, it all works. Like it doesn't feel disjointed.
No, it doesn't. Or like, it doesn't feel like there's any part that's unfinished or anything. It's just, I'd like to know what the process was. But, okay, Judge Death gets Batman down at his mercy, but Judge Dredd shows up right in the nick of time and right in time for his poster. That's like an amazing shot.
Oh, yeah. That's iconic.
Oh, for sure. And blows Judge Death away, which doesn't really do a whole lot in the long term kind of thing, but at least it's knocked him out for a second. And then again, in the meantime, Mean Machine is still destroying the stage underneath them all because he can't help himself. Just more box all over. Yeah, this is kind of where the sketchiness takes over. These pages do feel like Sienkiewicz.
Yeah, I mean, he might be running out of time a little bit, but it kind of works because in terms of like what's happening with the electricity, like he's moving to that really blue palette and everything's kind of scratchy. And
yeah,
if he's trying to save, I don't know if he's trying. I don't think he's taking a shortcut, but if he is, it's not a bad place to do it.
No. I mean, honestly, this is the kind of stuff you want him spending a lot of time on, these hero shots.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, this stuff here not really as important. But we are at the climax of the fight where Judge Death does have Judge Dredd in his clutches, but Batman is able to kind of wrap him up with a batarang, and Judge Dredd gets him with the electricity or electrocutes the body, and I suppose destroys it so that the spirit worm thing has to leave, and Judge Anderson is able to trap it telepathically. One of those cool shots as it gets sucked into her head here. And these are much, it feels like much more time intensive kind of sketches. Yeah,
I mean, this was like pencil, right?
I guess. It's very nice looking though. Like it's very complete looking, which is weird for Biz when it is either charcoal or pencil or something like that.
It's a cool choice though, because he's using the pencil, the charcoal for this moment of like the telepathic, where she's sucking it into her brain.
Yeah.
And so it's like there is a kind of rationale for some of these switches, some of the points where he's switching media.
Yeah, no, that's true. And okay, yeah, at that point, Mean Machine busts through and is about to come up on them and probably butt them into oblivion, but Judge Dredd is able to shoot the dial off Mean Machine, which basically turns him off immediately.
and then he's got him wrapped up in that little pen line rope.
Yep.
Which I kind of love. Like, it's almost like a little leash or something.
Yeah, but when he doesn't have the ability to up his aggressiveness, that's enough,
Yeah.
And at the end here, Batman and Judge Dredd, they really haven't worked together a lot, just at the end here to take out Judge Death. So they never had a chance to really patch things up. And at the end of it, they're still kind of, I don't know, they're not fans of each other. But Anderson convinces Judge Dredd that they don't need to bring him back to Mega City 1 to serve his time because, well, here, let's see. What do they say here? She's got Judge Death stuck in her head, and that needs to come out immediately. Also, he didn't break any laws until Judge Dredd moved in and then kind of, put him in a position where he was going to have to do that. And they're able to kind of, work Judge Dredd to the point where, he's able to let it go.
I like how Mean Machine's like, that's Dreddy for you. Bastards makes us criminals. And it's like,
yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah, the point. I get the feeling there's a lot of that kind of satire in Judge Dredd. But yeah, again, one of those great kind of machine arms in the middle here. I love that shit. And another one of those direct profile chins on Dredd. Looks like it's carved out of rock.
Totally. Everything's doughy, like it's got that. Everything looks like it's like mattressy and bulbous.
Yep. And yeah, so Dredd, Mean Machine, and Anderson teleport home, and that's kind of the end of it. There's our awesome shot of Judge Death to end it on. Yeah.
Good comic.
It's a great comic. I love this thing. Yeah, no, I used to read this every once in a while. I just get kind of blown away by how good it looked. And it's a pretty thick one too. I don't know how many pages there are in this. It feels like it's more than 48 though. It's that prestige format. It cost $7 Canadian, back in '91. So that's pretty heavy. But you really got your money's worth of this at least.
You sure did.
You think about the kind of stuff that you would have bought for prestige format back then. It's like, maybe it's worth it, maybe it's not. But yeah, no, that's an excellent one for sure.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for letting me jump on this one. We're gonna do another
Batman crossover.
We're gonna do a less excellent one soon.
Yep, but probably made more money, so that's the important thing. All right, thanks for stopping by on this one, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
What should I do? The usual thing, I guess.
Yeah, do your outro.
All right, now I'm gonna do my outro. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, please hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notifications so you know when the next one's coming out. Go over and subscribe on my Patreon. Gives you early access to everything I do, from the Blood Force stuff to the YouTube videos before they get uploaded to YouTube, as well as some Patreon exclusive content. You can also follow me on Instagram and DM me there for commissions, and you can join the Blood Force Discord server. Yeah, that's going to do it. Thanks again for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.